As we told you before in our previous video, the 70s were a decade when the horror genre established itself as a profitable genre.
This isn't for your eyes.
If you haven't watched it, you can find the link in corner of your screen.
We are the things that were and shall be again.
The stories, the projects which originated in the 70s laid the foundation for subsequent movies in that category. So the decade of the 80s in an era when big studios and producers step into the game and the world saw some of the amazing and chill-inducing horror movies.
That thing in the cellar is not my mother.
That's why in this video, the Cine Visit is going to tell you about the top 10 horror movies of 80s. So buckle up and let's roll.
Swallow this.
At number 10, we got Child's Play.
Surprise! Did you miss me, Andy? I sure missed you.
Dolls are pretty awesome and children love them. But what will you do if you find out that a doll is possessed? Well, in that case, these beautiful toys tend to be scarier and more terrifying than other things.
Got you now, Andy. I'm gonna cut off your legs, too.
Directed by Thomas Lee Holland, it features Brad Dourif and Alex Vincent in leading roles. Despite receiving average reviews from critics, it was well received by people and earned more than $44 million against a budget of $9 million. At number 9, we got Prince of Darkness.
A life form is growing out of prebiotic fluid. It's not winding down into disorder, it's self-organized.
John Carpenter, the Lord of Horror in Hollywood, has exceptional talent in this category. The writer and director of Halloween have many great horror movies under his sleeve, and it is one of them. Released in 1987, Prince of Darkness follows a group of scientists who came face to face with Satan himself. In this bizarre story, Satan unleashed from captivity and possessed people. Praised by critics, this film is now considered as a cult classic in the horror category. It was also a mild box office success, but managed to gross over $14 million. At number 8, we got Hellraiser. Clive Barker, a leading British horror writer, made his debut by directing this supernatural horror film. Starring Gene Chapman and Claire Higgins in the leading roles, this movie follows a mystical puzzle box. When opens, it summons terrifying creatures called Cenobites. Which are the main focus of this film and its sequels. Upon its release, it became a sensational horror film due to its story and theme.
Kirsty, it's Frank. It's Uncle Frank. No.
It grossed over $14 million against a production budget of $1 million. Its critical and commercial success spawned a whole new franchise of the same name.
The box. You opened it. We came.
It's just a puzzle box!
Now you must come with us. Taste our pleasures.
At number 7, we got The Fog. This unique and wonderful horror film was another successful project of John Carpenter. Although it was initially panned by critics, but now it is a cult classic and must-see horror film. Its premise is based on a mystical fog that appeared in the coastal town of Antonio Bay. In this strange fog, the revenants appear and kill the inhabitants of the town. Later, it is revealed that these revenants are the spirits of mariners who were killed 100 years ago.
You read us this one. Were it possible to raise the dead, I would return Blake's fortune to an intact, safe...
Upon its release, it received negative reviews. However, it was a commercial success at the box office and generated considerable revenue.
Here's your gold, Blake. My grandfather stole it from you.
At number 6, we got Children of the Corn.
I did as you commanded! I was done!
Based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King, this supernatural folk horror has also a unique concept and idea. Fritz Kirsch, the director of this movie, done a great job and maintained the same fear and fright as it was by Stephen King.
Want you too, Malachi.
Set in a fictional town of Nebraska, it tells the story of a couple who are running to save themselves from the children of the town. The children who wanted to kill them as a part of a ritual are followers of an entity that lurks in cornfields.
Choke on it!
Containing some violent and gruesome scenes, it was a hit at the box office and the start of a new series of the same name.
I hope you can swim.
At number 5, we got Evil Dead. It is a fact that a B-grade, the low-budget film develops its own fan following. But this series is an exception. Directed by Sam Raimi, Evil Dead defied all odds upon its release in 1981. With only a budget of $375,000, it went on to earn a total of $27 million. The story of this supernatural horror film follows 5 college students on a vacation. They play a tape which released a legion of ghosts and spirits.
This is the tape I found downstairs.
Now my wife and I have retreated to a small cabin in the solitude of these mountains. It deals with demons, demon resurrection, and those forces which roam the forest and dark bowers of man's domain.
They fight for their survival, but only one of them stays alive, who is none other than Ash Williams.
I know it's not going to start. It's not going to let us leave.
Many critics applauded the story and screenplay of Evil Dead. And its success created Evil Dead series, which is still running successfully.
Oh, yes. Oh, did you?
At number 4, we got Gremlins.
Well, I don't know, maybe thousands.
Gremlins.
Not every horror film is suitable to watch with kids, but Gremlins is not this type of the film. Released in 1984, it is a comedy horror film which is filled with some cute and mischievous creatures called Gremlins. It tells the tale of a father who brings his son a special Christmas gift. The gift is a pet, Mogwai, which laterally translates as devil. Upon the arrival of Mogwai, strange things start to happen as the son ignored 3 rules of keeping Mogwai as a pet. It is really fun to watch and you can enjoy this film with your kids. It was a critical and commercial success and became one of the entertaining horror films of the 80s. At number 3, we got Aliens. The success of Alien 1979 achieved a milestone in the history of the sci-fi horror category. Therefore, 20th Century Fox hired James Cameron to develop a sequel to the original film, and the result is this second part. It shows the events after the first part when Alan Ripley, the lone survivor of the first part, is sent again on a mission. Like its predecessor, it was also a commercial and critical hit. It was not only the most commercially successful movie of 1986, but it also earned 7 Oscar nominations and won 2 Oscars for Best Visuals and Sound Editing. At number 2, we got The Thing. John Carpenter, famous for his notable work in the horror genre, created this masterpiece of all times. It was released in 1982 and follows a group of scientists in Antarctica. One night they encounter a creature who has the ability to take any form. Upon its release, it was a failure at the box office, and critics also panned it with negative reviews.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes. Clear! Clear.
To your surprise, some critics even called it the most hated film of all time. But in 1992, critics and people re-evaluate their assessment. And then, it was called a milestone in the horror genre. Now it is one of the greatest horror films which redefined the horror category. At number 1, we got The Shining.
And ever. And ever.
Stanley Kubrick, the greatest director in the history of cinema, revealed his brilliance by making this movie.
Little pigs, let me come in.
Based on the novel of Stephen King, this psychological horror film has everything you can imagine. Featuring Jack Nicholson in the leading role, it tells the story of a writer who moved to an isolated hotel with his family.
Here's Johnny!
After some time, the writer started to lose his sanity due to the presence of supernatural forces. The great acting by Jack Nicholson and the direction of Stanley Kubrick makes this film the best horror film of the 80s. That's why it surely deserves the number 1 spot on our list. Well, we hope, after watching this video, you have some great horror movies to watch. If you like this video, then subscribe this Cine Visit for more amazing stuff like this.